Hello everyone. So we will be solving the third problem of this contest. This is CodeForces Educational Round 191. The problem name is cost of a bracket sequence. So it is a quite interesting problem. So let's read the problem statement and try to understand the problem. So the problem states that let the cost of an arbitrary bracket string be the length of its longest subsequence, that is a regular bracket sequence. Okay, you are given a bracket string s and an integer k. Your task is to remove at most k characters from the string so that the cost of the resulting string is minimized, right? So, what is the problem statement? Let's say you are having a string, let's say this, right? And now you can, let's say I'm saying you can delete any one character of your wish, right? And you need to tell me which character will you delete so that the resulting string has minimum number of pairs. Minimum number of pairs, right? Let's say you deleted this opening bracket, right? Then let's look at what can be the possibilities. Let's say you delete the first character I equal to 0, and the leftover string will be something like this, right? Let's say you deleted I equal to 1, then you will be left with opening bracket, closing bracket, and an opening bracket, right? Let's say you deleted I equal to 2, right? Now you will be left with something like this. And let's say if you delete I equal to 3, then you will be left with 1, open, and close, right? So let's see how many pairs does this have. This has one pair, right? This also has one pair. This has 0 pair, and this has um, one pair, right? So this has 1, this has 0, this has 1, and this has 1. So out of these, minimum is this one. So you should delete the second character for sure, right? So deleting the second character will help you get the maximum, will reduce the number of pairs, and number of pair you can see is 0. You can pick up any subsequence of your choice, means you can pick this element or this element anyways, still the number of pairs will be 0, right? So you need to return a string, right, which represents which element will you delete, right? So the element which you will delete should be denoted by 1, and else it should be denoted by a 0, right? So I hope the problem statement was clear to you, right? Let's look at the test case. Let's take this one, right? So 3 opening brackets and 2 closing brackets, and k is equal to 1, right? So the test case is 3, really sorry for this. So the test case is 3 opening brackets and 2 closing brackets, and k is initially equal to 1, right? So now in this case, let's say you can delete any element of your choice. Initially, if you look, this is a valid pair and this also is a valid pair, right? Means if you look at this closely, this becomes something like this, right? And this is a valid bracket pair. Yes or no? I hope you know how this is a valid pair, because if you try to look, if you want to place a plus at this place, right, this is a valid one. If you want to place a 5 at this place, this is still a valid one, because 5, this becomes 5 plus something, right? So the bracket gets corrected, right? So if it is a opening one, it should be followed by a closing one, and again if it's a opening one, they should have a closing bracket as well, right? And they should be in correct order, right? Then this is a valid bracket pairs, right? So I hope the problem statement is clear to you, right? And this test case, these are the two valid pairs, right? Let's say if you delete this one, right, then you will be left with something like this, and the number of pair will be 1, right? And you can try out all possible ways. You can't reduce the number of pairs by 1, so you can delete any one of these twos, right? So the answer would look something like 0 0 0 1 0, or 1 0 0 0 0, right? You can print any of these and this will be get accepted, right? So the I hope the understanding of the problem is clear to you. Now let's look at a test. Now let's look at the time constraint of the problem. So if you look at the time constraints of the problem, n and k are given as 5000. So a big of n square solution will definitely get accepted in this. Yes or no? Yes. So we are allowed to do a big O of n square solution, right? So now let's try to think something, right? Before trying to think, let me give you few claims which will help you think this problem in a better way. My first claim is, let's say you are having an index, right? So if you want to delete, if you want to delete, then let's say opening bracket, right? Then delete it from the first element or the leftmost, then delete the leftmost one, right? And my second claim is, if you want to delete a closing bracket, delete it from the rightmost, delete it from the rightmost, right? This is the possibility of deleting any element, right? Now you will think, hey, but what is the core reason behind this? Why are we doing so, right? You might be thinking about this. Let us prove that, right? Because without proving anything, you might face troubles in the future. That's what I have said earlier as well. So let's look at why should we delete the leftmost bracket first instead of deleting the any other character, right? My claim is, let's say if you have something 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 and again a bracket, let's call it as index j, let's call it as index I, right? We can say that if j is greater than I, then and you want to delete that opening bracket, this opening one, delete j I first, delete I first, right? Now you will say why? Because see, if you let's say left this one for, let's say this will stay here and you want to delete this one, right? Even if you delete this one, the brackets, the closing brackets which are on the right hand side of this will get paired up with this one. Yes or no? Right? And let's say that if this closing bracket was not the right to it, right? If the closing bracket was here instead, then again this opening bracket will get paired with this one. Yes or no? I hope this is making sense to you, right? What I'm saying is, let's say if you had an opening bracket here, and after few index you had an opening bracket at this point as well, right? And you are thinking, why not delete this one, right? What I'm claiming is, if even if you had a closing bracket at the right, deleting this will still insist this pair, these two to pair up, because we can pick a any subsequence of our choice, right? And this is a subsequence which forms a valid pair, right? So even if you delete this, that won't be that much helpful, right? But and another case is, let's say this closing this was the opening bracket, this was the second opening bracket, and you thought of deleting this one first before this one. Let's say suppose here is was the closing bracket again. Now even if you delete this one, this pair still remains there, still here, right? So I hope the first claim is clear to you, that if you have an opening bracket on the left, you should delete it first any given day before deleting the right opening brackets, right? Okay, makes sense. What about closing brackets? The same idea. The rightmost closing bracket, let's say you had many rightmost closing brackets, right? Yeah, let's say some elements and again a closing bracket and some elements, right? Now if you think of deleting this first instead of this one, what would happen? Let's say we had an opening bracket at this point, right? So even if you delete this one, these two will get pair up, right? And the second case is the closing opening bracket was at this point, right? So even if you delete this one, these two will pair up. So why not, let's say, what if we delete this one first, right? So if you delete this for this one first, this opening bracket and this has a closing bracket, this opening bracket has nothing to the right which is a closing one, so these will not get paired up, right? So I hope you are understanding that why we are doing so, right? If yes, do give a like. It boosts our confidence a lot. Please do subscribe as well. It's free, right? It gives a lot of motivation, right? All right. So the first two claims are clear to you that leftmost say we delete opening brackets and rightmost we delete a closing bracket, right? So after these two claims, the problem is over. You will say how? I will say what you will do is try to delete all case based on few things. Based on few things. What are the few things? First, you will try to delete zero leftmost or zero opening brackets and k closing brackets. Then you will try to delete one opening bracket and k minus 1 closing bracket. Then you will try to delete two opening bracket and k minus 2 closing bracket, right? Ultimately the total sum of opening and closing brackets is still k. Yes or no? I hope this is making sense to you. Be interactive. Do drop comments. Do drop yes, understood, anything, right? So you will try out all possible values of k from 0 to k, right? So how will this look like? You will say for I equal to 0 to k, right? Int left delete, let's name it left delete will be equal to I, right? Leftmost delete, which is opening bracket ones, and int, let's call it open delete, right? And let's call it close delete. How many will be the close delete? It will be k minus I, right? And then you will have an vector that will store the indices of opening bracket, right? So let's call it open. So what I will do, I will try to delete the opening brackets, right? After deleting the opening brackets, what I will do, let's say, let me have a clear picture so that you can understand. So what we will do after this step is very simple, right? You will traverse for j equal to 0 to j less than open, right? You will try to delete those many elements, right? You will say, let's call it s of open of j, right? That means that index which is already stored in your open vector, you want to delete it, make it a star, right? Similarly, do it for close ones, right? I hope this is making sense to you. We will do a dry run. Don't worry. Don't get panicked. Oh, what are you doing? I'm not understanding. This is a very simple part. You have already stored the indices of the opening bracket and the closing bracket in the correct sequence. Now you are trying to run a for loop and try to delete the first open delete number of elements. Similarly, you will try to delete the last close elements, and after that you will check how many pairs are there, right? So if number of pair is less than initially, right, or the right, minimum number of pairs till now, then what you can say, we can say, wow, we found a correct sequence which can be our answer. And how will we do that? We will simply traverse again on our loop, right? We will traverse on the string and mark those index, right? Mark the index which we have chosen. How will we do that? Don't get worried. I will show a test case we have chosen, right? And that will be very clear to you, right? Uh, let's take a test case, right? Let's say, let's take this one, right? 6 and 2, right? So let's 6 2 open open close this. A valid sequence would be deleting this element and deleting this element. This will give a valid answer. Why? Because after that you will have only left with one pair, and that is a correct answer for you, right? Let's look at this, how this works, right? So I will have a open vector that will store the indices of the opening pairs. So it is 0 1 2 3 4 and 5. So 0 पे open हो रहा है, 2 and a 4, right? And then close, you will have a reverse order, right? So close gets first at 5. So you will, because you want to delete from the rightmost element for the close, yes or no? So you will delete 5, then 3, and then a 1, right? Now what you will do is you will traverse for I equal to 0 to 2. First you will say, okay, number of deletion is, I want to delete int open delete is I, means I don't want to delete any, right? In this case it is 0, right? And close delete is all elements, that is 2, right? So what you will do is you will try to delete the two elements from this close vectors, which are at indices 5 and 2. So what you will do, you will simply mark this 5 and 3 string. So final string will become something like open, close, then again open, and you have marked 0 1 2, the third index as a star, the fourth index open, the 5 index as a star. This is the string that will come for you, the temporary string, right? You will ask your, you will create a function that will say how many pairs does this have currently, right? So it will go to that function, that function will find how many pairs does it have. How are we finding how many pairs do we have? So let's say if you have a open vector, you will say open plus plus, right? And if you have a closing vector, you will say, let's call in my code, because I have written this as reserve plus plus, right? Reserve plus plus, right? So this means I have a reserver. As soon as you get a closing vector, you will say if my reserve is greater than 0. What does this mean? I have an opening bracket already. Then I will do reserve minus minus, because this will get pair up for you, and the number of pair will be pair plus plus, right? So this way you can find how many pairs do we have. So in this case, let's say reserve at this place is 1. At this place, reserve becomes 0 and number of pair becomes 1. At this place, reserve becomes 1. There is not a closing bracket. Reserve becomes 2. Again, not a closing bracket. So the number of reserves that you have at that, where that very point, at that very string is 1. And this is the this is the minimum that you can have, right? So as soon as you hit the minimum, what you will do, you will say, okay, let me minimize this, right? So as soon as you hit the minimum, right, this is the mini that you can have, that is 1. What you will do is you will simply do what have you done. You mark this index 2, you mark this index 2 as a star, and index 5, sorry, index 3 as a star, and index 5 as a star. In your answer vector, you will mark answer of 3 equal to 1 and answer of 5 equal to 1. Rest all the elements will be 0, right? So we can do this. I hope you can. I trust you that you can do this. Even if not, I will show the code. So what happens? 0 becomes 0, index becomes 0, first index becomes 0, 2 becomes 0, index 3 becomes 1, index 4 becomes 0, index 5 is still 1, and this is a valid answer for you, right? So this was the core logic for the problem, right? So what, let me write the thing for you again. Delete leftmost opening bracket, delete rightmost closing brackets, right? And try to delete from 0 to k, right? So this is the whole crux of the problem. The time complexity for this problem is big O of n square. I have proved it as well, that why this solution works. Why are we trying to delete first k elements from the left first, then then compared to right, and so on and so forth, right? So let's look at the code, right? So this is the main code, right? We are taking n and k as input. I'm creating an open vector. Really sorry for this. Give me a second. Yes. Yeah. So, really sorry for this. Uh, if S of I is open, then in open vector, we are pushing that element. For the closed vector, we are starting from n minus 1 because we want to store the largest or the rightmost element first, right? So if S of I is a closing vector, close dot push back that element, that index, right? Then we have a mini and a final answer string, which consists of 0 only, right? Now what I'm trying to do is I'm having an open delete. How many bracket should I delete? That is I, and close delete as k minus I, right? And then we are forming a string. That what string can be formed, right? So what I'm trying to do is I'm traversing from 0 to open delete number of open deletes that I want to do, and form open of j, we make it a star, right? And at the same time I'm marking that element as 1. In case if this process hits a minimum, then I have already stored that okay, this is the index which I want to make it 1, right? Similarly, we do it for j equal to 0 to close delete. How many close delete we want to do? Form of close j becomes a star and current becomes that index, right? And then we are finding how many find pairs, right? This value gets this find pair finds the number of pairs we have, right? So this takes the input form, which was a string which we formed, right? This function will find the number of pairs. How will we find the number of pairs? This is the way you can find the number of pairs. You are storing the reserve and pairs both as 0. You start traversing from 0. If you get a opening bracket, you do a reserve plus plus, that this can form a valid pair, right? Because we can pick any subsequence, right? Else, if reserve is greater than 0, then we do a reserve minus minus and do a pair plus plus, right? One more thing, if S of I is equal to a star, right? Because we are creating it a star, right? In that case, you can continue, right? You don't need to do anything in that case because star is nothing but you are deleting that element, right? So we did, if reserve is greater than 0, then you do a reserve minus minus and a pair plus plus, right? And how many pairs do we have? We have 2 into pairs. We can return anything. You can do 2 into pairs is number of valid sequence, let's say, because when you have a pair, right? Let's say you had open open and close, really sorry for this, open close, something like this. So number of pairs counted will be 2, right? Number of pairs will be 2. You can return that as well. That won't cause any issue. I am returning 2 into pairs because there are 4 elements that are forming that valid bracket pairing, right? So that is the reason you can return pairs and still get accepted, right? Then what we are doing, we are simply updating. If my value is less than mini, then my mini is equal to val. I'm updating my minimum and my final answer is equal to the current. What is this current? I hope you know. These are those index we are changing, right? Initially it consisted of all zeros, right? See, we had all zeros in my current, and as soon as we are changing any element, then we are converting that index to 1, right? And then we are returning the final answer, right? So this is a very basic code, right? A big of n square solution. This will definitely get accepted. So this was all about the problem. If you have any doubt, if you want to have any more problems which you want me to discuss, definitely do drop them in the comments. I will love to take those as well. And we have also a Discord channel running for us. You can join that as well. And that's it for the video. Meet you in the next one. If you have any doubts, do drop in comments. Please do subscribe and like and share as well. Gives a lot of motivation. Thank you for watching.